All right, everybody, let's pull that tarp. My guest today, professional sports bettor, media personality, Brad Feinberg. Welcome to Everybody Pulls the Tarp, Brad.
Great to be on. I look forward to it very, very much.
Brad, where I want to begin is, when did you make the decision that you were going to go full-time and become a professional sports bettor?
It's really interesting, Andrew. Like, I used to run a women's clothing company. We had a family business. I graduated University of Michigan in 1995. Right away went into the business that my dad was in, my uncle, my cousin. And I did it for 21 years. Great people, love the people who worked for me and worked for our company. Friends of mine to the day I die. And but the job itself wasn't for me. And I always, and I mean always, I remember, Andrew, when I was in 6th grade or 7th grade, one of the kids in school had those, I don't know if they had them when you were in school, you're younger than me, those pools where it said like, ties lose, three pays 5 for 1, 4 pays 10 for 1, 5 pays 20 for 1. And I saw that. I was like, oh my God, like, what's this? And it just was something that was immersed in me. And I've 99.5% of the people who bet, maybe even higher, lose. I'm in that 0.5% that wins. I guess I always am calculating odds, probabilities. And I didn't always win at the way beginning. But then I learned what things to do, what things not to do, where to find edges and stuff or whatnot. And I got heavily into DFS, Daily Fantasy Sports. Like, my best friend built an algorithm for us. We got fortunate enough to win the FanDuel Championship using this. It was just inputting my data, and we got lucky enough to win that. And after we sold the business, I kind of went into doing it. I'm like, listen, I'm good at it. Sports was becoming easier to bet on. Like, no politician's ever done anything for me in life, Andrew, except one, Chris Christie. The only guy I can heard of, yeah, but he made it his thing to overturn PASPA, which was the law that made it illegal to bet on professional sports or college sports or any kind of sports outside of Las Vegas. He made it everything he had to overturn that. The leagues hypocritically fought it. Now they're the best friends, of course, of all these gambling things. Anyone could have seen this coming a mile away. And I went into it, and then a mutual friend of mine, NBC was looking for someone, an on-air personality, to talk about sports betting. And a mutual friend of mine gave them my name. I went in for a tryout, and I guess I sucked less than everyone else. And because I had no experience with any kind of TV work or whatnot, but I had the knowledge. And I guess, just by having that, it made it easier. And great people at NBC. And I got into doing the sports media work. I do a bunch of podcasts now, a bunch of radio. I truly, Andrew, like to help people. I know that may sound corny, but if I can give people any kind of information that helps you either A, lose less, or B, hopefully win, that makes me really feel good as a person. And that's how I got into it. Like, we sold the business, and then sports gambling became legal in all these states. It was kind of a timing thing that kind of led to it.
Sometimes it is a timing thing, and it works out beautifully. You mentioned data and eventually feeding your data into an algorithm. How did you go about building this pool of data over a long period of time?
God, man, there's so much. You had so much to talk about. First of all, the DFS thing, which is a separate thing, but it is kind of gambling in a way, at least in my opinion. But my best friends, like, you win all your fantasy leagues. Let's get someone to put exactly what you would want in this algorithm. And what the algorithm is, anyone who saw the movie Back to the Future when Biff had the sports almanac, and I don't know if you remember that, but if when I put in like my data, and if I'm running every projection, it's telling me the optimal team. Obviously, I'm not going to be running every projection. No one in the world can be, but that's how that worked. In terms of the sports, from a very early age, God, since I want to say, like, after I graduated college, I started tracking all the stuff I did to see, okay, I wanted to know. I didn't want to guess. Okay, do I win in pro hockey? Do I lose in pro hockey? Do I do better betting baseball? Do I be better betting pro football? Do I do well in college football? Do I do better betting second halves? Do I do better betting over-unders? Do I do better betting props? Do I do better betting futures? Whatever it is, I didn't want to guess. And I didn't want to also overrate myself, saying, oh, you know what? Yeah, I had a good year. I did this amount, or I want to know exactly what I was in every single aspect of this, which is what I did. I tracked exactly what I am in everything. So I could tell you what I am in WNBA. I can tell you what I am in every single thing. So I don't guess anymore. I know where my strength is. I know what things my bread is buttered, so to speak. And that's how I was able to do it, by tracking exactly, specifically where I am in each individual sport and subset.
So how do you think about decision making, right? I mean, you talked about a couple of things there. Some you said, like, I don't want to guess. When you're making decisions, how do you look at decision making?
Decision making is everything. I like to say, Andrew, on my show, I want to show my work. Like, I'm not going to come in here and I'll say to you, Brad, who do you, Ben Roethlisberger's over under 252 yards. Do you like the over or the under? I'm not going to say, yeah, I like Big Ben under. Next question. I'm going to show you why I like something. So when by the way, and I'm glad you phrase these questions the way you do. To me, sports betting is a metaphor for life. And I mean it. I can tell you exactly why. I'm constantly, Andrew, trying to go for efficiency. What's the best way for me to optimize my profits? And it's like that in life too. If you don't smoke cigarettes, there's a better chance you're not going to get lung cancer. Doesn't mean you're not going to get it. You can't control that. But what you can't, I always think my motto in life is process over result. And we're in a society, unfortunately, where it's result over process. No one could give a crap about the process except me, but that's all I care about. I don't look at the result. I'll give you this example. Let's suppose me and you were sitting on a bench and we're watching Shaquille O'Neal and Steph Curry shoot a free throw. And Bill Gates goes to us, you know what, Andrew and Brad, you get $10 million. Who picks this right? One of these guys has to make a free throw first. Whoever misses first loses. And I pick Shaq. And you're like, oh, I'll pick Steph Curry. So if Shaq swishes his first and Curry goes in and out, people will be like, oh, Feinberg, you're such a genius. You picked Shaq. How did you know? And I'm like, I wouldn't be a genius. I'd be the biggest moron in the world who had a faulty process but got lucky in the result. But people just look at the result and think of me as this smart guy when I'd be a total jerk. I'd be the biggest dummy in the world. But people always just look at the result in this world. They don't look at the process. So for me, I'm always, Andrew, when I'm doing these stuff, any bet I'm looking at, I'm going through a process. I'm going through data. I'm researching. I specialize in prop betting, and a prop bet for everyone listening is how many yards will Ben Roethlisberger throw tonight? How many touchdowns will Ben Roethlisberger have tonight? How many yards rushing will Nick Chubb have? Things such as that. How many catches will DeAndre Hopkins have? That's what a prop bet is. It's short for proposition bet. And I will go through. I work for a company called betprep.com, and I love the company because I use their data is what changed my life. I study every single aspect of a bet. What has such player done this year? What has he done if he's going against a certain player in coverage? What has he done if someone else is injured? Does that affect it? And I go through every single process to say, okay, what has he done his last 10, his last 5? Maybe it was a good bet its last 50, but his last 10, his last 12, it hasn't been. So I go through every possible thing, trying to poke holes in why I may like something. I'm like a lawyer. When I initially see something that makes sense to me, I'm like, okay, well, there must be a reason this line's what it is. Let me see what I'm missing. Let me disprove this bet. I'm looking to disprove why it's a good bet. And if I can't, that's why I know I have a good bet.
How do you know when you've done enough research and enough thought into a particular bet?
Yeah, it's a good question. Listen, I mean, I very, very, very rarely, Andrew, just make a bet. Sometimes because I know this stuff so freaking just cold, where the same bets, for example, I don't know how much you follow the day-to-days in the NBA, but Jonas Valanciunas, they've made his over-under 10.5 rebounds a ton this year. And he's now 19-8 to the over. How do I know that? Because he was 18-8 yesterday, and I bet it yesterday and won. And before that, last year when this has been a 70% winning bet constantly through time of life. But for some reason, and I don't know why, they keep making his over-unders a lot, 10.5. And so something like that, I really know I don't have to really look much at it, because I know at every point of that life, from his entire career, basically, this has been a winning bet ever since he's established himself as a legit number one center in the NBA. But most times I always just start from the beginning as if I never heard of the player. And I go through and I look at when these props come out, I make my own numbers, and I don't look at the number of what the sports book has. I'll look at, okay, Kevin Durant. Let me see what he's averaging this year. Let me see what he's averaging his last 3, his last 5, his last 10. Let me see the defensive pace the other team allows. Is he going against a team like Utah, or is he going against a team like New Orleans? Is it going to be a blowout game? What's the spread in the game? If the line is 14, he may not get those fourth quarter minutes, or maybe not getting those fourth quarter minutes. I'd like the under. So I'm looking at so many things, Andrew, the average person like, Jesus Christ, how do you even enjoy your life? But for me, I enjoy it. Like, this is what I love. It's not even the money that I make doing it. I like being able to beat something that I'm not supposed to be able to beat. And that challenges my mind, keeps me fresh. And that's what I like to do. But I will never, ever cheat myself and not put in the work, because if I do that, then what am I doing? I don't, again, I do this because I want to win. Some people bet for action, Andrew. I bet to make money.
How do you balance the data versus your gut instinct? Like, how do you reconcile the two?
Let me tell you something. That, out of all the questions you're going to, that to me is right up there as the best one, because there's really no answer for that. And this is the part where I would say it's kind of like when you watch these football games now or whatnot. I'm a big believer in analytics, but I'm also a big believer you have to do it in a respectful way, not just default 100% to analytics, because there's a part of this which is a human. I always say all the time when I'm doing these bets, sometimes we as bettors or as fans, not just bettors, like when Bryce Harper won MVP, did you see his speech by any chance?
I did not.
It got home to me, and I'll tell you why. You know what he talked about? He talked about how he got hit by a pitch and it messed him up. And because he's like, I got like, because me, you, and whoever else is watching these games, again, we treat it like a John Madden character. Like, Bryce Harper, he got hit by a 98-mile fastball. Who the hell cares? The answer is he cares. He cares. And if you got hit by a 98-mile-per-hour fastball, Andrew, it may put you into a shell. It may make you like scared to be at the plate. It may make you change your approach. It may do a lot of things to you mentally. And I try to always be respectful of the fact that we are not betting on robots. We're betting on human beings. So I try as best as I can to play amateur psychiatrist, keyword being amateur, but I try to really say to myself, I just can't look at the data. Sometimes you have to look at the human element, and I can't give you I just happen to be good at it. Why am I good at it? I don't know. Is it luck? Maybe. I don't know. But I definitely don't just look at the data, because I think if I only looked at data and I didn't just put a little bit of my feel into it and in terms of what I think by how a guy's playing, sometimes I think stats can be deceiving. Sometimes so I do much more data driven than anything else, but I do have that human element that you mentioned that I like to try to look at and incorporate into my decision-making process. The exact percentage, I can't give you that. It's just kind of from having done this for 25 years plus. It's like, the Malcolm Gladwell thing where he goes, you put in 10,000 hours into something, you become an expert, if you heard that.
Yes.
But I put my 10,000 hours into this. And I suck at everything else, but this is one thing I actually I'm good at. And it's because I've put in so much time doing it. To me, it's now almost like drinking water. It's second nature.
You are very good at it. And you're also, I think, Brad, a creative thinker, and you try and think outside the box. Super Bowl 53. I want to talk about that a little bit. You made nearly a $50,000 profit on a losing ticket. How did you do that?
Yeah, well, that was a great, before the year, that was the year that you're talking about, the Saints Rams,
That's
Rams.
Right.
My biggest future that year. And again, what's cool about futures is, Andrew, each sports book will have a different line in futures, right? Someone like one property may have the Saints at 20-1. Another one may have 10-1. So the average person, you just go in and you see the 10-1, you're going to bet it. No, I'm not doing that. I check every freaking one of them out. Every one of them. Check every single property out to make sure I'm getting the best price. And that year, the Saints at 20-1 was my quote unquote all-in investment. During the year, that was the year New England and Kansas City and the Rams were in it. I'd added some on. I had Kansas City too. Kansas City was like my big team in the AFC. and they were a huge long shot. That was Patrick Mahomes' first year. But what I did was, when the Final Four occurred, I always say, listen, just because this is one thing I think gamblers make a mistake, and especially recreational gamblers, is, do you own stocks?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know when you get like your monthly thing, it'll say you own 100 shares of Microsoft, it's worth $62,000, whatever the heck it is, right? It gives you like a thing of what your value is. I want to say, God, on the Saints that year, I had a ton of money. I mean, I had at least probably 15 grand on them at like 20 to 1 odds, or something like that. Or maybe, and they were my biggest position. And some people, when they have a big bet on something, they're like, it's the 11th commandment. Oh, I have this bet, I have to let it ride out. But what people don't understand is that Saints ticket, when they were in the Final Four, Andrew, had a value. It was like looking at a stock. It's either going to settle at, let's just say you had 15,000, it pays 300 at the way end. It's either going to settle at 300,000 or zero, right? There's no in between. It either wins or it loses. But at that moment, maybe the value of it was about 100,000, because they were favored to beat the Rams, and they would have been probably close to a pick 'em in the Super Bowl, whoever it was against. So maybe at that time it was worth 100, and I had money on the other teams at that point as well. But the Saints were my biggest thing, and I was like, you know what? I don't need to be a hero. They can lose this game to the Rams. This is going to be a close game. Anything can happen. And I figured out the math on it. I was getting a good return on my investment based on the math, what I thought the actual ticket was worth, based on what the money line I thought would be in the Super Bowl versus the money line against the Rams. And I wanted to look, I made a good trade. I took the Saints big before the year at 20 to 1 odds. Let's live to fight another day. I don't need to go all in on this Saints team. Now, if I wasn't, suppose someone offered me like nothing. Suppose I thought it was worth, that ticket was worth, I thought it sold it for 60,000. Suppose I thought it was worth 90 and they're offering me 60. Would I have sold it? No, I wouldn't have. But if I thought it was worth a fair value, I don't need to. It's like if you run a business, do you want all your sales to be to one customer, Andrew? No. You want to spread it out. You don't want to have so much risk on one thing, because that's how you get in trouble in life. If you put all your eggs in one basket, I didn't need to have all my eggs in one basket on the New Orleans Saints when they're playing another team that won 13-3. And by the way, those are the things that are efficient markets. The NFL spreads, that's what the stuff that I try to do is everything but the spreads, because the spreads, there's a few people that I know that can beat it. I'm not one of them. That's not what I do. What I do is everything. I try to go into the inefficient markets, the stuff that is more beatable. Betting the lines to me is a hard thing. And I know winning 2 football games, anyone can beat anyone on any given day. And that's why I made a conscious decision. Listen, let's cash out. I did amazing on the trade. They were my all-in pick before the year. I was right. They went 13-3. They got home field advantage. They're in the Final Four. Let's go to the next trade. And that's what I did.
Brad, you mentioned something in there. You said the phrase, I didn't need to be a hero. I think so often, great leaders, great executives, great performers in sport, whatever it is, are people who can kind of subordinate kind of their ego, right, to say, look, I'm going to do something that might not be the most glitzy or the most glamorous, but I think this is best. This is optimized for these reasons, or this puts me in the best possible circumstances for those reasons. Talk about that for a minute. I mean, is that something that's kind of always been innate in you, this ability to kind of say, hey, I'm not going to be a hero here. I'm not going to try and be flashy. I'm going to do the right thing.
100%. First, did you watch the Bills-Patriots game on Monday night?
I missed it this Monday.
The Patriots ran the ball, Andrew, 32 straight times. 32 straight times. I've never seen that. Because basically, Belichick was like, listen, this gives us the best chance to win. I don't care if I get laughed at. If I run the ball 32 straight times, people may call me a moron, an idiot. I don't care. I'm going to do what I think gives us the best chance to win, even if it looks, quote unquote, dumb or not right or not optimal. This is what I think is optimal. And yeah, listen, I have no ego. And what I mean by that is I learned in life early, there's going to be a lot of people better looking than me, a lot of people who have more money than me, a lot of people have a better job than me and have a nicer car than me. I accept that. And I just try to live my life. And that's one thing in life I think people get the most trouble. And I can't tell you, Andrew, how many people I know. Johnny has this, Ted has that, Mary has this. Oh, why can't I be like her? Why can't I be like him? And I'm like, dude, like, who cares? Like, focus on you. I don't focus on anyone else other than me and what I can do to optimize my success, my family's success. And I think one of the biggest problems people get in life is they focus on comparing themselves to others and trying to outdo someone else. Oh, someone has 2 million, I need to have 2.1 just because I could have more money than him or whatever. Who cares? Like, if that's really your end game, you've already lost to me. But I'm always looking to be the smartest person in the room, is the guy who's looking to surround himself with smart people. If you put me in a room with a bunch of people that know how to do stuff and are efficient, that's going to raise my IQ, right? Like, that's going to just surrounding myself with people who are intelligent. Listen, like when I'm getting my bets in, I listen to other people who do what I do at a great level. And I don't say, oh, I'm not going to bet that because I didn't originate it. Hell no. If there's someone I know who's really, really smart and is killing it and they can help me, I'm not like, oh, it has to be me or I can't do it. No, not at all. I don't care where. If I'm getting good information, I'm grateful for it. I'm always trying to optimize everything I can for me to benefit the most I can. However that is. I don't care if I'm the person if I'm the ringleader, or if I'm just in the last row, just still benefiting from it. I could care less. And I think when you see a lot of people in life, Andrew, they do have an ego, and they need to be the person that everything revolves around or whatnot. They need to be just everything has to be around them. Look, I have two great parents, the best. And by the way, I hope everyone says that about their parents, but I really believe, hand on the Bible, that I do. And my parents raised me really, really, really well. They kept me grounded. They taught me right from wrong. They taught me values. And I'd like to think in my life, I'm humble because of them. And by being humble, I realize I can always learn. I can always do better. And again, when I speak to someone, I just did a video today before I was on with you, where I give my prop picks each week. And when I'm done the show with the guy Jamie is a great guy. I don't ask him, which ones do you agree with? I go, tell me the ones you don't like. Because I could care less if you agree with. I like it when you disagree with me. When smart people disagree with me, that's what I'm like, okay, I love that. Like, enlighten me. What am I not seeing here? How can I get my process better? Where, you know what, James, like, there was an interesting one I did a few weeks ago I do a podcast with a guy named Michael Salfino, a brilliant man. And one of the props I gave was Rob Gronkowski under 56.5 yards. By the way, he finished with 57. But he said to me why he didn't like it on air was, Brad, he's tied with Tony Gonzalez for the most 100-yard games. He's like, and Brady, Gronk could be his last year, could be Brady's last year, who that knows. I'm sure going against Atlanta, bad team, maybe this is the spot, a narrative where Brady wants to get Gronk that 100-yard game. And I thought about it. I'd already put in the bet, but I really thought, I'm like, you know what? That was something I didn't think about. That was a narrative that didn't cross my head. And I actually thought it had some merit to it, because I could see, because he's tied and it could be his last year, Gronk, that maybe they want to get it to him. And there's only a few games left in the year. They're a double-digit favorite. This would maybe be the optimal time to do it. So I loved that he brought that up to me. And I'm like, wow, I missed that. I missed it. Next time, I don't want to miss it. I didn't research that. I didn't know that. And I love that it was brought to my attention that I did miss that. That's the stuff that makes me feel like, yeah, they challenge me. Don't kiss my butt. Tell me what I did wrong, not what I did good.
How do you filter out who you take advice from and who you don't? That's a curiosity I have about your world. How do you? So many people want to give you advice. How do you filter it out?
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. There's just such a few lists that I'm going to take it from people who I know in the industry, who I just know, and I know they have a track record, right? Like, I'm sure, like, when you speak to, there's certain people in your life, in your world, that just by having interacted with them, how valid the data is. What are the chances of it being correct? No one's 100%, but I surround myself with other fellow pros who I know are good. And how do I know they're good? They've proven it to me. They've showed their work. They have given me stuff. I've tested it, and I've seen how good the stuff is. I'll be honest. And if you were, and I don't know you, like in terms of like, I know some of the other guys in terms of sports betting. If you said to me, Brad, I had this great bet tonight, whatever the heck it was, I just would not, you're the nicest guy I've met, but I'm not betting it. No offense. You'd have to show me over time how your methodology, tell me what you did this year. What did you do last year? What have you done the last 5 years doing this stuff? How did you get to this point? Like, and these are people that I'm ever taking advice from that have done this, that are and have been in that arena, so to speak. So for me to do that, it takes a lot. And the answer is it's a short list, Andrew, a very short list.
Brad, I want to break down your day a little bit, like a day in the life of Brad Feinberg. Everybody sitting on the side watching you or listening to you might be thinking, I would love to be a professional sports bettor. I get to watch a lot of sports. I get to think a lot of sports. I'm a sports fan, but it is a lot of work based on what you're telling me here. Just take us through like a typical day. What are you going through? How are you processing information 24/7? What is it?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I had a friend of mine came to visit me from Florida, and I've known her. I met her on a trip when I was in Italy back in 1992, and she was visiting her kids, and she was in the area, so she stayed with me for a few days. And she's like, Brad, she's like, I got to tell you. She goes, I had no idea how busy you were. she's like, this was a real eye opener for me, because I'm getting calls, Andrew, like I must be on the phone 300 times a day. I feel bad. Like my kids sometimes like, Dad, why are you on the phone so much? And I do feel bad about that, certainly sometimes, but I'm always on the phone with other people who I do respect doing this with. I'm constantly doing research. Like, again, what I like to specialize again is the prop betting world. That's what I'm good at. That's what I really enjoy doing. So it takes time to do it. Like, I'm constantly on the computer saying, okay, like, LeBron James's, rebounds tonight, I'm making it 6.5, and I think it should be juiced minus 120 on the under or whatnot. And then I'm doing all my work, and then I have to see when the numbers are out. Okay, what did the sportsbook post number of that? Then I got to try to get down on these bets, which, by the way, that is all these commercials with these casinos. God, man, this is when they're like, oh, come bet with us. Well, it should say, come bet with us until you start winning, because they cannot handle 99.5% of the people winning. Has to be 100%, or you will get kicked out. And it is challenging for me to be able to do what I do. And different tricks I have to do to be able to, quote unquote, stay in the game, because it's really hard. They won't let anyone win. You can't win. You can't win. And they don't tell you that in the commercials, but if you have an IQ and you show a propensity for making, quote unquote, sharp bets, they're going to kick your butt out of there before you know it. And there's the first time it happened, you're like, oh, wow, that's so cool. They think of me as a sharp. Trust me. After it happens, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. But now I can't bet here. Now I can't make my money. Now I can't do. So it's such a cat and mouse game, Andrew, of staying under the radar, trying to do things to be able to get. It's funny. It's the only business in the world, Andrew. When you go to if you went to Walmart or Target or whatever store, your favorite restaurant, you're like, yeah, or a car dealership. Let me buy 2 cars, not one. Let me buy 10 pairs of jeans, not one. Let me order 65 entrees, not one. They'd be like, oh my God, this is awesome. But when you try to put in the sports bet, they're like, what are you doing? Like they look at you like you're holding them hostage. And that is something I can tell you, it's a tough world. And it's a lot of work. It's a battle, and these lines change so quickly. One good thing about me, Andrew, is because I made contacts all these years, I get great information from people. And as I said, I have no ego. I don't care if I originate the bet or if you're a great BMer and you originate the bet and you're sharing it with me. I try to share my stuff. You try to share your stuff, and we can benefit each other. Again, I could care less who originates it, but a lot of times I'll have no joke, 3 seconds to put in that bet. When I say 3 seconds, I don't mean 2, or I mean 4 seconds. I mean 3 seconds where the thing is gone. and where like the line, I'm taking under 136 and then it goes to 133, where that was the edge. The edge was those 3 points, 134, 135, 136. That's why I was able to get the edge in that bet. And if I don't get it in within 3 seconds, it's gone and it'll never be there again. So you're a slave to your phone. If you're out at night with friends, they may look at you like, what the hell are you doing? You're getting a text to put in a bet. Like what's wrong with you? No, I'm being serious. I see you laughing, but it's true. And I'm telling you, this does happen. And I'm the normal, nicest guy you ever meet. But people will be like, I don't get it. Like, what do you mean you have to put in the bet now? Or like they don't understand. But I have such limited time when I get information to put that stuff in, like seconds. So you are a slave to your phone. You are a 24/7 job. There is no off day. There is no, heck, when I'm in the shower, I freaking feel like I have to take like an 8-second shower, because I don't want to miss that next bet, that next play, because when you have an advantage on something and you're missing it because you're not available, then you're hurting your livelihood.
Brad, there are so many principles here that I think apply to other aspects of life, business, sports, wherever, right? I mean, we've talked about decision making. We've talked about being humble. We've talked about kind of being open to fresh ideas and innovative thinking. I'm curious, before I let you go, Brad, what if you had to boil it down to one thing that has made you successful in this over the last 25 years, what is that one thing?
I love it. Honestly, I really enjoy it. I enjoy the process. I don't need to take a shortcut. And that may sound like so simple, but I enjoy doing the work to get, again, I enjoy the process to get to the result. If I didn't enjoy the process, like some people, most people, almost everyone, they're not going to want to do the research. They'll just be like, who do you like? LeBron over 24.5 or under. I don't want to go through an hour of research to make that stupid. Just give me the over and under. I just want to root for it and watch it. I don't care about the process, the work. I like the work of actually getting to the point of what I do. I like figuring out what the right answer is. And just because I like it, because if I didn't like it, I think anyone can do this if you really enjoyed it and put in the time. But I enjoy it. Like I don't want to be a scientist. I don't want to be an English teacher. I don't want to be a car salesman. That's not what I love. I love sports. I would have loved being a sports general manager or something like that. That's something I would have had a passion for too. But because I like sports, I like numbers, I like probabilities. It's just, I enjoy it. It's in my blood. And it's that enjoyment and enjoying the work. Enjoying the work, Andrew, is why I think I'm successful. Because I didn't enjoy the work, I would suck at it. And I would be half-assing it. I'd be taking shortcuts. And if you don't, I call it paying the toll. If you don't pay the toll, you're not getting over the bridge.
Brad, that is a perfect spot for us to end our conversation. That lesson is so important to anybody, wherever they are in their life, their career, no matter what you're doing, right? If you're not willing to pay the toll, you're not going to get over the bridge. You said it earlier, process over results. And for you love the process and you love doing the work. This has been so much fun. I've learned a ton. I could go on with you for hours, Brad. I could keep asking you questions, but I know you have bets to make and research to do. So
I do.
Keep pulling the tarp, Brad, and we'll have to catch up again soon.
I appreciate it, buddy. I really enjoyed it, Andrew. Thank you so much for having me. Anytime you want me, you got me.